Welcome to Black Girl Magic. I'm your host, Candace Rose, and today we'll be talking about the reimagining of Hermione Granger, best friend to Harry Potter, smart girl supreme, and all-around badass. Many of us grew up immersed within the wizarding world where we met the characters of Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and of course, Hermione Granger.
Hermione Granger is everything that I would want to be and everything that I think most girls want to be. She's smart and she's clever, and she'll take a moment to think and then she'll do it. She's creative. She processes. She's not dependent on anyone else. She can be interdependent. I mean, you know, she'll have relationships, but she's not waiting for somebody else to come and solve the problem.
So where did it all begin? Well, Hermione's story began where every Hogwarts student's story begins, at London's King Cross. In 1990, Joanne Kathleen Rowling boarded the train from Manchester to London's King Cross station. And while on that train, she birthed not only the character that would become the boy who lived, Harry Potter, but also the character who would become a global feminist icon, Hermione Granger. This is only the first of many births, so we'll call it the first birth. The second birth is the character's actual birthday, September 19th, 1979. And much like her Hogwarts letter, the third birth in the wider world's introduction to the magical world wouldn't happen until Hermione turned 11 in 2001 with the introduction of Emma Watson. Emma Watson was also born in 1990. Born in France to British lawyer parents, Emma knew from a young age that she wanted to be an actress. She trained at the Oxford branch of Stagecoach Theatre Arts, where she performed in various plays and productions. At the age of 10, she got the opportunity to audition for the role of Hermione Granger. After 8 auditions, she got the role.
For example, Oculus Reparo. That's better, isn't it? Holy cricket! You're Harry Potter! I'm Hermione Granger. And you are?
Many years afterwards, the face of Emma Watson served as the main fan cast for Hermione Granger within the fandom world. But that world was rocked by the casting of Swaziland-born actress Noma Dumezweni in the stage play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
We all started with the books, and that's what the extraordinary thing is, because it's Hermione 20 years later.
Right.
20 years, and that's my joy that I'm able to play this character. It's my joy that Jo, I can call her that now, Miss Rowling, and John Tiffany and Stephen Hoggett and Sonia and Colin, our producers, and Jack Thorne went, yeah, I would love you to play it.
But was it?
The casting of Dumezweni caused quite a stir. People came out on both sides of the line to debate whether or not Hermione Granger was allowed to be Black. Rowling herself tweeted in support of the casting, stating, canon, brown eyes, frizzy hair, and very clever. White skin was never specified. Rowling loves Black Hermione. And eventually, the furor died down. This leaves us with births 1, 2, 3, and 5. But what about birth 4? Well, birth 4 is the birth of fandom Hermione. This is also the time period in where we first see Black Hermione Granger in both fan art and fan casts. Let's call this birth 4 3/4. Before we can dive into the fandom and Black Hermione Granger, let's first discuss what it means to be Black. Amanda Stenberg, who captured global attention by portraying another character audiences were surprised was Black, appeared in a Teen Vogue interview alongside some other famous faces to discuss why Black is both beautiful and powerful.
My Black is beautiful because it's completely unique to me, because it never breaks.
It is an individual expression of all of my ancestors.
Now, let's talk about the fandom in Black Hermione Granger.
Hermione Granger is the best character J.K. Rowling has ever written.
No, listen, Shawty is the bravest chick,
The baddest witch, an activist who made the well-being of house elves her priority.
In spite of her social issues as a muggle-born minority, Hermione Granger, you should have been a Black woman.
A Black Hermione Granger is important to me
because I think that Black girls everywhere should have as many heroes as they can.
Well, I believe a Black Hermione Granger is extremely important to the world and the story of Harry Potter because she brings the necessary diversity that we're looking for. She represents Black girls, Black women, and Black femmes in the sense that we're usually the ones who have to save everyone else from themselves. Hermione shows us that not only can we be strong, we can be smart, and we can be badass and still be happy.
It's really hard to see representation of anyone like me in mainstream media, and Harry Potter is as mainstream as it gets. She encourages little girls to take action, be unapologetically themselves, and be fierce.
Representation matters, big ass period. Let people look their biases in the faces. Let people see Black women in different roles other than the stereotypical ones you always see them in. Let little Black girls see smart and passionate characters that look like them. Let little Black boys see smart and passionate characters that look like their sister. Let little white kids see smart and passionate characters that happen to be Black. It changes things. It changes perspective.
Without her and that type of representation, we run the risk of the danger of a single story. I was able to sit down with multiple creators, readers, artists, and cosplayers, lovers of Black Hermione Granger. And there are three in particular that I want to highlight today. The first is Eliana Israel, the creator of popular web series Hermione Granger in the Quarter Life Crisis.
Here's the problem. I've made all the right decisions, but I'm starting to feel that the right decisions may have been the wrong ones. I've planned my way into a perfect life, but lost myself along the way. It feels like someone else is writing the ending for me, and it's wrong. So I've decided to write my own ending.
My relationship with the Black Hermione, it's gone through like different levels. Like it's a relationship, you know what I mean? And so I think that I think that at one point I was very much team like she's Black in canon, like period. And then I've kind of left that train behind. I'm like, I don't think J.K. Rowling was writing a Black person. I think that so much of her life tracks for Black people that, you know, I think that J.K. Rowling very much wrote a Caucasian woman. Mm-hmm. Or a Caucasian girl who became a Caucasian woman. I think that she is a white person, but I think that so many of her struggles and her challenges, I think correlate very cleanly to a Black life. And so I think it was just an easy connection for us to make. Just that moment, I was just on the bus and I was like reading the story and I was like, I should probably do something like this. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to do this. And that was the birth of it. And I went back and I just was thinking about it would be Hermione kind of where I was, lost. When Hermione showed up to Hogwarts, she had all these, like she, you know, she's reading the books and I can only imagine like the things that she was dreaming of. And it started to stand out to me that throughout the course of the books, like her personal life outside of Harry and Ron and the fight, it just disappears. Like we get Ron's family life, right? Like his family life continues. Even with Harry, we get all his family life and then he gets absorbed into the Weasleys and he marries into that family. And I just kind of felt like, what happened? Hermione's, everything about her disappears. And it never stood out to me until that moment. And I was just kind of like, and then I had started to think of her as Black and I was like, God, this Black girl sacrificed everything. And she saved the world. And then everybody just moved on. And then somehow she just married this guy and like became a wife. And I was just like, oh my God. And so I was just kind of sitting there and I was like, this is just wrong. And I was like, and so then it became like, okay, if I do a show, it's got to be about her just finding a way to reclaim herself. And I was like, and I would think that I get that she was intentional, like we have to do this, the survival of the world is important, and it is, you know, but to me, I was like, once all that happened, I don't know that she would stay on that path of, and I was like, I feel like at some point she would stop and be like, okay, wait a second, what happened to the girl that I was before this? Like, where are her parents? Where's her family? You know what I mean? Like, okay, she sent her parents to Australia, but like, is that it? Does she not have cousins? Does she not have any people in her life outside of Harry and the Weasleys and like that world? You know what I mean? And then she came from Muggle world. And I was like, did she have friends at school? Did she have cousins? What were her dreams? Did she want to go to college?
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm like, the Hermione who came to Hogwarts wanted to do things when she got out of school. She became Harry and Ron's friend, and then she got sucked up into that. But like, before Halloween of her first year, what was her path?
Yeah.
And so then it just, and I was on that bus and all of this was just like, you know, coming to me. And I just was like, oh my goodness. And I was able to see myself, my present day self, my current self in her. And I was just like, I know what it's like to be the person who just puts yourself to the side, you know, because it's important at the moment and it needs to happen at the moment. And also as a fan of her in general, whether she's Black or white, I want to know who she is outside of this relationship with her two best friends, and who is she outside of her importance in the task that they have to do. But that task is not who she is. And we get to a point, I mean, basically from like book 2 on, that all we really know of her is as it relates to the task that they're doing. You know what I mean? And I felt very much like I want to dig into who she is. I see Black girls come of age all the time in my life. Like I look at, we all come of age. But I felt like, you know, this whole like, I mean, even just, I think the luxury of having a quarter life crisis and reaching a point in your mid 20s. And I mean, I got to my mid 20s and I was like, I think I fucked it all up, right? I was like, oh my God, I made this big choice to be a creative coming out of high school. And now here I am 26. And I was like, was that a mistake? Like, did I, you know, and I, you know what I mean? And I had prioritized the wrong things and relationships and all this stuff. And I was like, oh shit, I've completely ruined my life. And I knew that that wasn't an isolated experience. And I also knew that like I was supposed to be the smart one. And me as the smart one, I still got to the same place of like fucking everything up. And I was just like, I wanted to see that on screen from a Black girl. So it all kind of happened. I know that.
The second is Brianna Davis, co-founder of Black Girls Create, which hosts not only the Hogwarts Black Student Union, but also features Black Wizard History Month every February.
We first started Wizard Team, you know, we're so like excited and just like happy to be here and like, oh my God, this is so cool. And we both kind of said, we were like, okay, we want to be the Black Harry Potter people. Like if there's some Harry Potter shit going on and you want a Black perspective, I want to be the one you call. Really start popping off until a few years in. So like my dad is like the whole reason I'm creative and like even put myself out there to do something like this is because of like my parents and just like learning how they move. And my dad also always just has like, he's the reason I'm a nerd, or one of the many reasons I'm a nerd. He was not as much into Harry Potter, but like all of my really early stuff like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, like all that kind of stuff, space in general, like is because of him. But like I think we were like leaving work and going home at one point, and we were talking about the blog, and at that point it was just the blog, and he was like, well, you could do something. I think he even like said Hogwarts BSU. I think he said it, and yeah, you could just like write about the Black characters in Hogwarts. And I was like, no, we could actually do that. Like I could see that. And like because it was Black History Month, because it's Wizard Team and we wanted to do some like Harry Potter related thing. And I was like, we could put out a piece of content every day. We could do Hogwarts BSU, call for submissions. I'll write something, you write something. We can, we can do this. And we did it. It was really hard. I think it was like the Black Hogwarts hashtag. happened on Twitter, and we didn't start it. I still don't know who started it, because like I was asleep. Like I woke up to my phone like popping off because Connie, who at the time was not on our team, but like we would always bring her in on stuff, and we had known her. She found us through Wizard Team like really early on, and she had like been like, oh, if you like Black Hogwarts, you should go check out Black Girls Create. And so then we were just getting hella followers, and I was like, okay, we're getting all these followers right before we're about to try to pop off this like month-long thing, so no pressure. It was the weirdest day, because before that we had like not even 1,000 followers, I don't think, and it just like took off. Like even my personal account was getting, I was like, this is a lot. But then in doing Black Wizard History Month, like right after that, which was not, it wasn't planned, we didn't know that was going to happen, but like doing it right after that, it just like retained a lot of that audience, and then continued to grow it. And then from there, like I think we got we started getting like more Hogwarts BSU submissions and stuff. And then 2019 came around and people were like ready for it.
And the third, Bad Luck Fiction 13, is the author and creator of 1 Million for Black Hermione, a series of stories featured on Archive of Our Own, a fanwork website.
For a bunch of different reasons. One being like, it's such an enormous number of words, right? Like when I was like, well, 100,000, 10,000, like those aren't like, when you think about like an impactful like amount of words, like 10,000 words ain't really cut it. Like I can write 10,000 words in a day if I wanted to. That's not enough. And then I decided to make it, Black Hermione as an expression of how I had sort of become to understand the character Hermione, and like how when you write race in a story and you don't just use it as a token person, like, oh, we have a certain Black person or we have a certain white person in a story, but when you actually incorporate race and all of what it means and gender and all these things into the way you write a story, the way you write a premise, how very different a story it becomes. Like, I think half of the reason why the character Hermione herself is like such like an easily like graspable character, because she doesn't really have, she has some personality, but that personality isn't really informed by her, normal life before Hogwarts and all that other stuff. And she's kind of like what a normal person reading the book would be if they were brought into Hogwarts, right? She's the only Muggle-born that goes throughout the entire series. And the concept of giving her more of that life and have that life show through her interactions within the wizarding world and like throughout her life, and how she interacts with people and how she understands events and things like that, what really drew to me. Really, it was one of my like greatest, like as an adult, it's one of my greatest critiques of JK. It's like, it's one thing to say, oh, she has dentists for parents, and she's a Muggle-born and she's really smart, but you don't really do much for like characterizing her as this person. I get it, it's a child's story, it's supposed to be a children's story, and Harry is actually the main character, but like Harry's characterization doesn't exactly like follow everything that is supposed to be there. It felt like weak writing, and trying to not fall prey to some of those easy ways out is a large part of why it became 1 million words, and why, or rather how I end up coming up with the premises to write for this 1 million words. Because like if I was to go with, or rather I thought about it, like, well, if I was to go with basically writing her in the story as she is, and just saying, oh, she's Black, like that's not a true representative of what it would mean for a Black Hermione to exist. That's like just saying, that's just like drawing a colored marker over Emma Watson. Like that's not what the point of having like a Black Hermione, or even like the Black Hermione tag, like even that isn't what is meant to be done, and it didn't feel true. So I ended up going maybe a little overboard, but I think the core of my idea did come from saying, what does it actually mean to be a Black woman with this sort of brilliant and like steadfast intelligence and loyalty and all these things in this wizarding world after coming out of like the non-wizarding world? Like, what does that mean? And sort of wrapping around that question is what the core of my ideas come from. Consideration that she will conceptualize like the concept of race and class and standing and everything else that sort of underpins the conflict of the Wizarding War and Harry Potter, right? Very differently than, let's say, Harry or Ron, and really having her stand on those ideas and not be silent about them, which I think you say that this person is writing her as an outsider coming in instead of just an outsider who just sort of falls in or like is entrapped in it. I would say that's the core of like where I center what it means for her to be Black when I write her.
I think Alana Bennett said it best. Hermione will always be an icon, no matter what color her skin. The least we can do is provide her with more room to be that icon. Maybe along the way, more people will be able to see themselves reflected back at them. Black girls, they're magic. And yes, that includes Hermione Granger.